They may have built the Beatles together with charm, wit, and unstoppable ambition, but by 1969, John Lennon and Paul McCartney were no longer the songwriting dream team fans believed them to be. In the documentary The Beatles, Get Back, McCartney tries to reassure himself, claiming that he and Lennon were still a team, but beneath the surface, their musical instincts were pulling in opposite directions. McCartney's imagination leaned toward melodic storytelling, whimsical experiments, and playful tunes like Maxwell's Silver Hammer. Lennon, however, had no patience for that kind of lightness. To him, it felt childish, almost insulting to his idea of serious rock. He dismissed it with a sneer that fans would later remember as, "That's granny music." This wasn't just a clash of styles, it was a battle of identities. McCartney was driven, almost obsessive, bringing in half-finished songs and pushing the band to keep creating. Lennon, by contrast, was slowing down, struggling to finish even one track. Years earlier, Lennon had been the engine of raw, unfiltered, rock and roll energy, and yet, perhaps a shadow of envy lingered. McCartney could wake up, scribble an idea, and by the next morning walk into the studio with a fully formed song. That's how he brought back Seat of My Car. George Harrison was showing the same spark with I Me Mine. Lennon, sitting in the same room, had to watch as his bandmates conjured music out of thin air. It wasn't easy for a man who once prided himself on being the sharpest songwriter in the room. One story captures this divide perfectly. McCartney's song Teddy Boy, conceived back in 1968 during the band's trip to India. It resurfaced in early 1969 at the now infamous Twickenham rehearsals. But instead of sparking excitement, it only highlighted the growing rift. The atmosphere was tense, tempers short, and energy low. Harrison, exhausted and frustrated, walked out of the band entirely the very next day. The project ground to a halt until the group could be coaxed back together. When sessions resumed, McCartney tried again to push Teddy Boy. The others humored him, but their disinterest was obvious. Lennon, bored and restless, began turning the song into a mock square, dance laughing, ridiculing, breaking the rhythm until the track collapsed into chaos. What McCartney had hoped could be a new Beatles gem was reduced to a joke in the studio. Realizing the band would never embrace the song, McCartney did what he had always done. He kept going on his own, at his home in St. John's Wood. Without the luxury of Abbey Road state-of-the-art equipment, he recorded a lo-fi version of Teddy Boy. The sound was raw, imperfect, even degraded when he later added overdubs. But somehow, that imperfection gave the track a haunting charm. Instead of disappearing into obscurity, Teddy Boy would live on in McCartney's first solo album, inspiring generations of indie musicians who celebrated its stripped-back authenticity. Yet, when the members broke apart, those same songs became cornerstones of their solo careers, timeless classics that proved each of them still carried greatness, just no longer together. If you wanted proof that the Beatles were destined to fall apart, this is it. The fact that masterpieces like these were laughed at, mocked, or left unfinished inside the studio shows exactly why their partnership couldn't survive. They weren't just drifting apart, they were already living in separate musical worlds.